What's up, guys? We're in Ridgewood, New York, naturally, and it's pouring rain outside, or at least it was. And it's a late evening, and I've got a half-built bike in my kitchen, and I'm gonna be doing some stuff to it today. As you can see, it's mostly built up. We've got some Dura-Ace FD9100 going on. Shifters are on. You know, it's pretty much built up, except for, you know, obviously the saddle's not there, and the front derailleur's nowhere to be seen. And that's pretty much what we're going to be doing today, is installing this FD9100 on this bike. So yeah, here's the lovely Dura-Ace packaging that I'm so obsessed with. And if you've seen any videos of my desk, you know I have a ton of these boxes laying around. You know, I've already kind of unpackaged this before, so this isn't a legit unboxing, but here it goes. That's a FD9100. Isn't it beautiful, babe? Yeah, I guess I'll talk about this front derailleur a little bit, because as far as front derailleurs go, it is a little unusual and unique in its design. I have one of these already on my SL5, and originally that entire 9100 group set was on this bike, but now I'm kind of, you know, swapping all that stuff out for 9000 and having the newer, lighter stuff on my newer, lighter bike, or older, newer, lighter bike. So yeah, I kind of left this derailleur on this bike mostly because I didn't feel like taking it off and resetting it, but also because I really appreciate this design. If you've ever used one of these, I'm sorry, babe. If you've ever used one of these FD9100s, you know how much crisper and lighter the shifting action is. And, you know, that's not just marketing. It legitimately shifts, you know, 5 times better than a old school, you know, kind of swing cage derailleur. And a lot of that is down to kind of the intelligent design of this thing. You know, the cable enters from the bottom here and wraps up around into this, and, you know, kind of pushes the cage out that way. And, you know, that's all well and good and kind of normal, but there are a couple design features that make this derailleur, you know, pretty smart in my opinion. You can adjust the tension right on the derailleur. You can see these white lines here. And this 2mm Allen key adjusts the tension right at the derailleur. So you don't need an inline barrel adjuster anywhere on your bike, which is super clutch. Because, this is nice. I have this Ultegra 6800 derailleur, just as a reference. You know, it's kind of a pain in the ass to set up front derailleurs in general. And certainly this 9100, you know, you'll see that later. But the tension adjustment right on the derailleur is super clutch, because, you know, if you don't have an inline barrel adjuster, and I don't have those on any of my bikes, you pretty much have to adjust the tension by unclamping the pinch bolt and kind of just holding it and, you know, just yanking the cable. It's, oh man, it's a faff. And that's well and good to do once when you're setting it up. But, you know, if you swap your chain rings out or adjust your chain line or have to do anything that requires, you know, a little bit of adjustment, it's just a nuisance. Yeah. And you can see here the old style swing cage design, where it attaches up here and it actuates that way. So that's different about the R9100, FD9100. Another thing that's, you know, intelligently designed about it is the way, you know, a lot of its light action has to do with its stiffness, and that has to do with the way it braces itself against the bicycle frame. There's more cat hair. So there's this screw here in the middle that you would screw in to kind of add another bracing point to your braze-on derailleur. This is a braze-on, by the way. I'm not really going to be talking about clamp-ons or, you know, the Di2 variety. I don't really know anything about those. But, you know, this bolt adds another bracing point to increase the stiffness of its attachment to the bike. And that helps to just make this shifting a lot crisper, you know, because it has a point to brace against the frame. You know, it's more stable in its actuation. Yeah. And it does. You know, it's not a joke, man. It does shift a lot better. It's a lighter action for sure. You know, sometimes you can be fearful of using your front derailleur. It just feels like an event every time you shift your front chain ring, and sometimes shifting down even to the small ring. You know, it feels pretty sticky sometimes. I don't know how to describe that feeling. So yeah, you know, that's pretty much my rambling of this derailleur and why it's different. Also, the way the cable is installed is a bit different. We'll take a look at that later. Yeah, so let's go ahead and put this braze-on FD9100 on this bike. Why don't we? So not a whole lot of stuff came in this box with the derailleur. There was a user manual. I don't know what I've done with it. I've like put it somewhere. And it had a QR code on it, of course. And also included is this little metal tab, which we will be attaching to the frame of this bike to provide a, you know, a good place for that stabilization bolt to, you know, engage against, so you don't like scratch up your frame. So it's nice of them to include that. I mean, they ought to. So we're going to be using pretty basic tools to make this happen. I have my trusty tool bag out, and we'll pull the black pouch out and get some Allen keys. So you're going to need the Allen keys for the mounting bolt, pinch bolt, and the adjustments. I got my torque wrench out. We're definitely going to need that for the mounting bolt. My Allen heads. And also for this, we're going to want to have like a straight edge. It's nicer to have a ruler to use later, and you'll see why we'll need this later, but I don't have a ruler, so we're going to have to make this do. Yeah. So I pretty much learned how to do this by watching another YouTuber's channel, Free to Cycle. He has fantastic content lots of Dura-Ace installation tips and lots of like nice DT Swiss maintenance tips. But he mentioned something that I thought was pretty smart, and I kind of you know, take into account when I'm doing this stuff. But he mentioned how it almost appears as if this derailleur is designed to work with like a cable end feeding into it right here. And he intelligently kind of postulated that, you know, if you don't have a cable and you just have your raw cable, if you don't have an outer cable, that is, and you just have a raw cable going through this metal hook here, it might damage the cable or damage the derailleur. So he suggested using like a little ferrule to kind of, you know, pop in there, you know, to kind of protect the cable. And that's what I did on my SL5 derailleur setup, and we'll be doing that again. So I'm gonna just cut this in half and you know, poke it in there to, you know, help us protect our cable and preserve the integrity of our shifting. Alright guys, so obviously we have to mount this to the frame. So let's go ahead and undo that bolt from the derailleur, this mounting bolt. Now this mounting bolt does have a torque spec, but we're not going to torque it up right away because we're going to have to fiddle with it once it's attached to the frame. Alright, so we can go ahead and just do a loose attachment. And because this is a new derailleur, it's got this nice orange guide tab included with it to kind of help you line up and see exactly where this needs to be. That's pretty nice. So we're gonna do that. Kind of just to see where this is gonna sit. So those teeth are lined up with the little outlines. It says on the paper they are 3mm gap. So, you know, if you don't have this in the future, you know, reference that number. 3mm between the cage and the edge of your teeth there. And it's pretty close. I'm not gonna get it too much better than that. All right, so we're not gonna pinch this down. For a couple reasons, because I want to see where that bolt is going to sit against the frame. This might help you not have a rear wheel when you do this. But basically I want to see where that bolt, that center bolt is going to hit the frame, so I know where to put this little metal tab. You know, if you certain, you know, braze-on derailleur holders, you know, will have like a solid metal piece, and you won't have to worry about using the tab. But you know, we have raw carbon in there, so we're gonna want to put that tab right in there on the frame where the bolt will meet it. And I kind of just put this on, you know, just now, just to gauge where that's going to be. So I'll check back with you guys when I'm ready to do that. So yeah, I'm going to screw this bolt in and just make a note of like kind of where I see it touch the frame. Hopefully this can be picked up. Yeah, there it goes. right, mental note taken. That's a little tab there that we're gonna put on the bike. You can see there's an adhesive strip on the back of it. You're gonna wanna peel that and stick it on the bike, obviously. And where we're gonna put it is a little, you know, I saw a little to the right of the scratch and up a little bit. You know, you definitely wanna, you know, put this on here because you don't want that bolt digging into your carbon frame when you tighten it up to adjust it. Boop. Yeah, it just pops right on. The adhesive is good enough, and it's also large enough that, you know, it's a little forgiving in the exactment of the placement. All right, so we're gonna pop this back on and get to work setting it up. You really wanna, you know, do that. All right, guys, as you can see, I've remounted that derailleur, and hopefully you can see well enough that that screw now will be hitting on that metal tab. You know, that's what we want. And also, I'm just gonna say this, you know, you really wanna make sure you get, you know, that as good as you can get it. This kind of alignment here, you know, because, you know, this derailleur is great, but you should really be careful and set it up properly the first time. You know, it's a little faffy to set up the one time, but once you do, you know, you will reap the benefits of taking your time and doing this stuff properly. So yeah, you know, try to get that, you know, the height there as good as you can get it. You know, thank you, Shimano, for including this little tab. All right, guys, so we're moving into a very critical part of the setup of this derailleur and the success of everything. First off, you're gonna want to make sure this isn't all the way torqued up. You know, you want it just finger tight to allow for the adjustments we're about to do. Also, this screw in here that braces against the frame, you're gonna want to make sure that is backed out a little bit. You know, just, you know, make sure it's not all the way tightened in. You know, so just make sure it's not contacting the frame at all. You know, just make sure that screw is out. Now, this is where that straight edge is gonna really come in handy. You're gonna wanna line up the cage here with your chainring teeth. So take the straight edge, lay it across the flat part of your chainring where the teeth are there, and we're gonna adjust the low limit screw there, that's that one, until these are perfectly aligned. And your reference point is in the middle of the cage here. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. And you know, you do that by adjusting this low limit screw here, which is 2mm Allen key. And yeah, obviously I'm the one-handed bike mechanic, so I have to do that off camera. All right, guys, as you can see, I've got that, you know, about as perfectly as I can get it. And also the, you know, the yaw angle is taken into account there as well. Now looking down from here, the whole point of this bracing bolt and what we're about to do next has to do with, you know, that stiffness of actuation that I mentioned earlier. Shimano recommends now from this point, you're gonna want to tilt this cage so that this part is inboard by 1 millimeter or 2. I don't remember the exact specification, but you know, we're gonna compensate using that screw. So yeah, we're gonna have to kind of bend this derailleur in this way a little bit. And this is why it's important not to torque this up yet. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, that ought to do it. So at this point, it's still more or less in line, but at this point, it's a little inboard. So basically, you know, I'm gonna torque this down next to 7 Newton meters. But once we, you know, once it's all tightened up, we can go ahead and screw this in to bring this cage back out. And then the rigidity of the mechanism of this derailleur, that is where it comes from. So yeah, let's go ahead and torque this up to 7 Newton meters and carry on. Alright guys, so I have my torque wrench set to 7 Newton meters. I've got my Allen head, and we're gonna go ahead and torque this up. Now, I will say I'm gonna hold the cage steady while I do this, because, you know, torquing this bolt up will want to fiddle with the angle. So let's just hold that in place as much as possible while we do this. And it clicked. Right. So now that this is all tightened up here and our angle is still there and this is in line, we can get in there with the 2 millimeter Allen key and make up the difference in the angle with that bracing bolt. So let's get in there and watch this happen. Look at that. Look how fucking intelligent that is. Now you can take the vernier, or your straight edge of choice, and observe the alignment of the cage. Oh, sorry. And see that it's aligned all the way around, which it is, which means we did a good job. Now maybe you can see why I really didn't want to remove that derailleur off of that SL5 frame. You know, this is definitely a little annoying to set up. But once you do, you know, you don't have to screw with it again. You know, I suppose potentially if you screw around with your chain line too much, you might have to, but really you can just get away with, you know, using the low limit screw and your tension adjustment to account for that. And as a symbolic gesture, you can go ahead and pull this tab off of our beautiful Dura-Ace derailleur that I'm not satisfied is clean enough, and I'll clean with alcohol later. Alright guys, this is where we are. I saved you guys the headache of watching me fiddle around and cable this bike. But here's our front shifter cable through that hook down there. And we're ready to start cabling this up. You can see here that there's a plastic lid over the pinch bolt. And we're just gonna go ahead and remove that. This cable has to basically come into that little divot. Yeah, oops. Basically into that divot and under this pinch bolt assembly. So let's go ahead and get to that. I don't know why I remember this part being kind of a pain in the ass. This is a 4mm hex head, Allen head. So yeah, we're just gonna make sure that's in that groove. It's under that pinch bolt. Oh man, this is tough with one hand. All right, there we go. You're gonna wanna make sure this pinch bolt assembly is orientated the right way. And screw this down a little more. What I mean by that is that there's a couple tabs here. You want to make sure this tab here is aligned with that tab. The pinch bolt receiver tab is lined up with that, because when you screw in this bolt here, it pushes against that tab, and that's how the cable tension is created, which is a pretty clever design, how they built the tension into the pinch bolt here. Alright, I'm gonna get that tightened up properly and I'll check back in with you guys. Alright, so that's all torqued down to 7 Newton meters, by the way. You know, I will say this part's kind of a pain in the ass. This reminds me of a old style derailleur, but you know, you really want to make sure that's pulled in tight. And you could check that, you know, by pulling that back there. You know, you might want to wrap it around your hand and pull it as tight as possible as you tighten that bolt down. Also observe how the wire is coming out of that pinch assembly there. You know, kind of under that little tab bit there, coming out this direction. And also, like, you know, before you fully torque it down, you might even want to like shift up a couple times to make sure the housing is all settled. And you know, do that a couple times and make sure it's like, you know, properly tight, and then torque it down. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna shift it up. Fully, and then click it down once. And now we're gonna adjust the tension. And this is what Shimano recommends to do, by the way. Let's get a 2mm Allen bolt. So here's the tension knob. It's a 2mm, and we're gonna fiddle with this until the white lines line up. Remember, we're shifting. Now let me reset this for you guys. So this is all the way down. Shift all the way up, and then click down once. Now we're gonna line those white lines up by fiddling with the tension here. Get in there. Alright, now, maybe I didn't mention this before, but, you know, before you do any of this stuff, make sure this tension bolt is all the way out, you know, so you have room to fiddle with this. Alright, so now those white lines are lined up, and theoretically we are adjusted, at least until we put the chain on. And Shimano says you're done here, but honestly, on my SO5, you know, this is a good starting point. On my SO5, it's not exactly at this tension level. I mean, like, once you put your chain on and start really setting up your shifting and your gearing, then you can play with it as you desire. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and get this cable out of the way. Right now it's just jutting out into space. So we're going to basically loop this around behind itself. And this is kind of interesting, actually, how Shimano decided what to do with this. It might help. Yeah, to shift. Yeah, that was too hard to do one-handed. Yep, just get it under that little hook there and wrapped back around itself. Yeah, let's go ahead and put this lid back on. Pardon my socks, but I am at home. Alrighty. And that's it. That is it, guys. I'm gonna shift it a bunch of times just to make sure the housing is seated. And you know, cables will stretch over time just a little bit. And the housing may take a little while to completely set in. But for all intents and purposes, you're done with the installation of this front derailleur. We have a little room to put some more tension in there, which is good. Because this cable probably will stretch. And we'll have some room to do some adjustments once we put our chain on. We can go ahead and clip off the excess here. And I'm no scrub. I will put a cable end on that. Damn, isn't that a thing of beauty? Yeah. Well, I'm not going to include in this video, you know, putting a chain on and doing the fine-tuning adjustments of this front derailleur. I might leave that for another video, you know, kind of a general maintenance, you know, derailleur adjustment, maybe troubleshoot style video in the future. So that means it's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found some of this information useful. I know there's probably 1,001 videos on YouTube of how to install a Dura-Ace FD9100 front derailleur. I mean, that's how I learned how to do it. But if you came across this one first, I hope it helped you, because, you know, setting this up is kind of a pain in the ass and kind of not like setting up other derailleurs, so, you know, it kind of requires educating yourself a little bit. as I had to do. But like I said before, you know, once you set this thing up properly, you pretty much don't have to touch it again. You know, just, you know, take your time. You know, make sure you're being very careful. Make sure you do all these steps, you know, in order and properly, and you will have a long life of beautiful front mech shifting. Peace out, guys.